This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
When our worst fears suddenly come to pass, we may find ourselves facing challenges that test our will to survive. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of desperate moments and bonds that will never be broken on Rescue 911. We begin on the cold and blustery afternoon of March 8th, 1993, near Columbia, South Carolina, where a couple of experienced windsurfers were out on Lake Monticello despite a wind chill temperature of 28 degrees.
You see the big waves and the swells and the water busting up across. This was like the typical, perfect windsurfing session.
Hey, how you doing? All right. Man, you guys really moving out there, aren't you?
Robert Cothran had been windsurfing for more than 7 years.
I see this man, and I can tell he's intrigued. And that's why he kind of approached me, and we started talking.
Make sure you got it on and got it tight.
John Jones and his wife were the only other people at the lake that afternoon. They had been waiting for it to calm down enough so they could go fishing.
My wife and Goldie, we've been fishing this same lake for 5 years. She was my #1 fishing partner.
Also windsurfing that day was Robert's friend, David Kilman.
I noticed this boat was hitting out. I knew the waters were rough, and I thought they must know what they're doing.
When we got out to this certain point, it just got a little too rough. And I told my wife, I says, we're gonna turn around and go back. The whole wave, it just killed the engine.
Occasionally, I would come back into the shore and I would rest, and I would hear these faint noises, and I would look out in the water and couldn't distinguish where these noises were coming from.
When we continued,
I held on to her for a long time. And I think I got so cold, I didn't realize that she wasn't there anymore. Help!
When the boat that John Jones and his wife Goldie were in flipped over far from shore, they were thrown into the frigid waters of the lake. The only other people out that wintry day had no idea they were in any trouble.
I decided to bring my board and my sail in. And then I heard this noise again. I saw these things popping in the water. They were probably 200 to 300 yards away. Even though I can't distinguish who they are or what it is, I knew that it was those people who went out in that boat.
All of a sudden, I hear Dave yelling. But when I looked windward, it all came together.
Help! I held on to her for a long time. And I think I got so cold, I didn't realize that she wasn't there anymore.
I have a car phone, and I phone 911.
I saw this big, beautiful windsurf board coming towards me. I said, thank you, Jesus.
There's 2 victims, and that one is unconscious, laying dead style in the water. I noticed that water was causing the hood to choke the neck, and I went immediately to untie that. So at that point, I set myself up where I can hold onto the board and have full control of it and holding the boom so I can keep the sail out of the water. And I didn't worry about kicking because the wind is blowing us straight to shore.
You okay? Okay, you're all right. We're gonna rescue you, all right? I want you.
I said, get my wife, don't worry about me.
Okay. So let's have the board. Then we're gonna do inside the board. We're going in, all right?
I'm starting getting worried, going, I don't want this to be a dead body. So I started talking to her, telling her, don't you die on me.
The Fairfield County Rescue Squad had been dispatched, but they were 12 miles away.
And I literally could not stand up, so they had to carry me. And I says, my wife, where's my wife? And he says, here she is right here. He says, we're going to leave you right here at this bush, and we're going to work on her.
Get out of the water.
She was blue. I mean, her lips were as blue as I've ever seen anybody's lips in my entire life. Robert searched for a pulse and listened for respiration. He got none.
Come on, let me check airway.
But I'm thinking, I got to do something now.
Airway, we got to start CPR. Arms up.
Her lunch started coming up. And I just reached over there and wiped her mouth off and said, Robert, go for it.
2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. Good day. 2001.
It was so much intenseness at one time, I was overwhelmed. My senses were overwhelmed.
You all right? 2003, 2004.
And I thought she was dead. I just really thought inside myself that this lady has died.
2003, 2004, 2005.
You get the bag, I get the draft.
2003, 2004.
The first paramedic to arrive at the scene was Steve Wilson.
I checked for pulse, and there was a very faint pulse. So we stopped CPR, we put her on the monitor, and it showed a heart rhythm. But she still wasn't breathing. You could see relief that we were there in the faces of the windsurfers.
All right, breathe. Got good breath sounds?
Okay.
Contact Life Reach and get them in the air ASAP.
The EMS people asked us to take this individual to the EMS truck and disrobe him and cover him up with some blankets.
He was conscious, but he was mumbling and just not there. He was right on the stage of going into full hypothermia.
One of the rescue squad members notified Life Reach helicopter for us, and they were setting up the landing zone at the ball field.
Robert, he was an emotional wreck like me. We had all this excitement, all these sirens and lights and people running around, and the helicopter flew in, and the next thing we knew, pow, everybody was gone, and we were the only ones on that lake, me and Robert.
Goldie Jones was transported by Life Reach helicopter to Richland Memorial Hospital and examined by internal medicine resident Oscar Glover.
Can you tell me what happened? Can you tell me what happened, ma'am?
She was cold to touch.
Okay.
Her core body temperature when she hit the door of the emergency room was 87.7 degrees, which is extremely low, extremely low. Our immediate response was to treat the hypothermia. She couldn't breathe well on her own.
She also got a smell of gasoline or kerosene or something like that, so I don't know if she aspirated some of that too.
Okay.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
It was hard to get oxygen into her lungs, and she did not do well at all on the ventilator. The majority of victims that suffer from near drowning, the mortality comes from pulmonary edema, or fluid in the lungs. Her prognosis was poor.
Jones, I'm just going to shine a little light in your eyes.
I walked in there, she had all these resuscitator and tubes and stuff running from her. I almost fell out. I did not realize the seriousness of it until I saw her. Then I got scared.
As the days progressed, she continued to improve. Over a period of time and with some coaxing and a lot of family support, she did get better. She's a fighter.
Okay, Will?
Go ahead.
Goldie spent 22 days in the hospital. She has no memory of what happened that day.
Okay, give me a little. I said, John, who? The Windsurfers. He said, that is the one that rescued you. I talked to Robert on the telephone, and he was so happy to know that he was there to rescue me and to save me. It's just a miracle that they were there and that they saved my life.
But Robert would come out of the water.
I knew right there that this woman is like someone I never met. I could tell she was just a nice woman to be around. I mean, it's like you could not feel tense around this woman. There was just too much love in the air, you know.
I never thought in a million years that I would be doing CPR on an individual.
Sure.
It's made me aware that everybody should learn CPR. It's important. You never know when you may use it. John and Goldie pulled a surprise on us, a token of their appreciation for what we had done for them.
I don't say I love men.
I went down and had him a trophy made. A plaque for David and a plaque for Robert. It has "To a Friend in the Wind" from John and Goldie Jones.
It's a good bond, good friendship.
God has given us life. He has brought us closer together. And I think there was a purpose for this. John and I are pals.
We kid each other. We joke with each other. We tease each other. We harass each other. We aggravate each other.
He snores.
She snores too, and accuses me of snoring all the time.
You're supposed to get it on top of the waves. Robert and David.
What I think about those skinny guys? Just like brothers. Just like family. I would consider them as part of the family any day to the week. Yes, sir.
Next.
She's been healthy since the day she was born, and all of a sudden now she's laying here lifeless in my arms, and I just wanted her back. I didn't want to lose her.
When Randy Chapman received a job transfer in 1992 and moved his family to Colorado Springs, Colorado, he and his wife, Jonna, were excited about the opportunities and challenges their new surroundings would bring. But they weren't prepared for what happened on the evening of November 4th, just 6 days after moving into their new home.
I worked nights, so I went to bed with my son earlier in the evening. My wife and daughter were downstairs in the den playing.
I got it. Uh-oh, babe. Oh.
All of a sudden, my wife had discovered that my daughter was not feeling well.
Here. What's wrong with you? I don't know. You want to take a deep breath for Mama and hopefully it will feel better? You want to do that? Okay, there you go. Megan? Megan? Megan, look at Mommy. Megan, talk to Mommy. Randy!
Fire department. What's the problem there?
I have a little girl who just turned 2. I just was feeling her forehead, and she was feeling like she had a temperature. My son had also had the flu, so I thought maybe she was coming down with something. I gave her 2 of Chiller's Tylenol, and she's like she's still asleep.
Ma'am, we have help on the way. What is your name?
Jonna?
Colorado Springs dispatcher Marion Druckenmiller took the call.
Yes, I do.
Okay, what I want you to do is take all her clothes off right now.
The woman was real upset, and she was telling me that her baby was convulsing and that she was real red.
It's like we can't wake her up. It's like
Okay. She's still breathing?
Yes, she is.
I thought that the baby had a high fever and that she needed to cool it off.
Ma'am, like I said, we have someone on the way. I know it's scary, but you need to try and remain calm. This is going to help your little girl. Jonna, what else I want you to do is to get a cool rag, a damp rag, and just kind of cool her face off.
Okay.
And, you know, that's what I want you to do right now. Can you do that?
The whole time we're doing this, she's still very much lifeless, no response.
I'm going to update my paramedics that are responding out there, okay? And they're going to be there just as soon as possible, but I want you to stay on the line, okay? Hold on.
I had no idea what had happened because she's been healthy since the day she was born, and all of a sudden now she's laying here lifeless in my arms, and I just wanted her back. I didn't want to lose her.
Okay, John, I'm back with you. How is she doing?
This is Randy.
Okay, how?
Husband.
All right, Randy, they're out front right now. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and they're going to take real good care of her, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
The Colorado Springs Fire Department was the first to arrive on the scene, including firefighter EMT Bud Widmar.
Fire department.
Nobody would answer the door.
Fire department. See anybody?
And we couldn't hear anybody inside, and we beat on the door, told them we was fire department.
Fire department.
And the longer we waited, the more we were getting concerned that something wasn't right. Just about time we were getting ready to force entry, the dad came in the door with a girl in his hand.
Hi, what's going on?
But he wasn't acting right, which was strange. He was just like in a stupor. And I told Brian, I said, this has all the symptoms of carbon monoxide. Let's get him out of here and get him out now.
Paramedic Brian Moffitt rushed 2-year-old Megan to the waiting medic unit.
Carbon monoxide is odorless, tasteless. It's not something that you can detect. It's a very dangerous atmosphere. Really, your only treatment is to put the patient on high-flow oxygen and then take him to the hospital.
John, get the windows. Got the windows.
This was a very dangerous situation because of carbon monoxide. Kills within minutes.
Jonna! Oh, my God. Somebody help! Come on, wake up. What do we got here?
I told him to get out of the house 3 or 4 times, but he didn't want to do that. And then my concern went to the 7-year-old boy.
Hey, can you hear me?
I checked his breathing. I couldn't detect any breathing.
Let's get you out of the house, huh? Let's go.
And I thought we were really in trouble.
Come on.
When I picked him up, he started breathing on his own. Just grabbed him as fast as I could and ran him out.
There's more tugging. What's going on?
Firefighter EMT Dan Romero went to help Randy with his wife.
Jonna.
She was totally incoherent. Her pulse was rapid.
I need to get her out of here. Let me get around there.
She was very, very close to death.
Ready? Go. You okay? No.
Finally, he collapsed.
Help! I have 2 people down here. I got 1 down. Hey, help! Let's go. Get out of here. Help! Damn it, let's get her out of here. Come on. Ready? Go.
A lot of people think that once you get out in the air, that you can breathe okay, but the monoxide attaches itself to the blood cells, and we have to force that carbon monoxide out and replace it back with oxygen. We didn't have much time.
All of the victims were taken to Memorial Hospital, where they were examined by emergency physician Michael Thompson.
The mother's level on arrival was 41. That means that 41% of her hemoglobin was saturated with carbon monoxide. I have actually seen patients die with levels less than 41. The father and son were essentially asymptomatic on arrival, even though they had significantly high carbon monoxide levels.
The doctors explained to me that my wife had had the most carbon monoxide in her system, and so then my fears had switched from my daughter to my wife, and I was very much afraid for her life.
Due to the severity of poisoning of the mother and little Megan, we sent them to the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. This is a chamber in which we can pressurize 100% oxygen to several atmospheres of pressure and force carbon monoxide off the hemoglobin.
Getting pressurized and pure oxygen will cause a little pressure on their ears, but they know how to clear their ears. You can talk with them.
My wife was laying there eyes open. She touched the glass, and at that point I felt like she looks bad, but she's going to be fine.
While inside the hyperbaric chamber, they were treated by Dr. Nathan Brightwell.
People should be aware that carbon monoxide poisoning in its early stages can be very similar to flu-like illnesses. The Chapmans are very lucky in that Mrs. Chapman recognized there was something wrong with her daughter Megan and called the paramedics.
The mother and daughter were literally minutes away from death at the time they were rescued by the paramedics. And the father and son would have followed soon thereafter.
Jonna Chapman and her daughter Megan were released from the hospital the next day without any lasting side effects.
You try and take every precaution possible to make sure your family and your children are safe. And to have something like this that you cannot detect come in and almost wipe your family out was the scariest thing that could have ever happened to us. I could not imagine what would have happened that night had we not had 911. So I always knew how important it was, but now they're a lifesaver.
Thank you. When I see my kids and family today, sometimes I think how in just a matter of seconds, one night, it could all be taken away. But today I'm just thankful that we're back to normal and my kids are full of life just like they used to be.
Home heating systems and fireplaces need to be inspected regularly. The poisoning occurred because the Chapman's furnace wasn't properly vented.
We've had a fresh air return put into the furnace room. We've kept the window cracked like we were told by the fire department. And we've purchased carbon monoxide monitors.
It was really scary because when I woke up in the ambulance, I thought my sister was gonna die. I would have missed having a little sister because I love her more than anything.
Recently, the Chapman family met the rescuers who helped save their lives that winter night.
It was really neat feeling to be able to hold the little girl Megan and to be able to look at her and know that she was not going to suffer any ill effects from this and that she was going to be able to go on to lead a fulfilled life.
They handle it so wonderfully and so professionally, and yet with such care, that they're just wonderful men. And we really appreciate it. What greater gift could anybody get than to have their family given back to them after coming so close to losing all of us?
Next.
She was well beyond the golden hour, so we knew we were fighting time and fighting shock. And at this time, I really didn't know whether we could save her or not.
After 28 years of marriage, Floyd Engel and his wife Mary could not imagine life without each other. On June 23, 1992, in Napoleon, Indiana, Floyd began his day never thinking that this might be the last morning they'd share together.
Hey.
Oh, what is it? Oh.
That morning we got up and ate breakfast.
We have a good day.
I kissed her goodbye.
Okay, now take it easy. Bye-bye, sweetie.
That's pretty much a tradition.
Every weekday morning, Mary left for work early enough to drive the 16 miles into town by 8 a.m.
It's about 20 to 10. So I thought, well, I'll just give her a call.
Stacy, how you doing? Here's Mary there. Let me talk to Mary, please.
And they said, no, she ain't got here yet.
You kidding?
I just knew it was something bad that happened.
She left here about 2 hours ago.
I just was thinking, I gotta find her. I gotta find her. I was gonna backtrack the way she goes to work, trying to see if I could see something. I just knew if she would have been right alongside the road where somebody seen her, I would have heard by now. As I was coming around the curve, I seen skid marks. I just knew it was her. I couldn't find her in the car. I thought, oh God, she got thrown out too. As I was hollering for her, I heard a low faint moan. I could see her laying down by the creek. Her eye was covered with blood. Her bone was sticking out of her arm. I could lose her right there. And that's when I said a prayer.
Breathe easy. It's going to be okay. It's okay.
I heard a couple cars go by.
Hey, I'm down here.
They couldn't hear me. I didn't want to leave her there, but I had to get help. There wasn't no easy way or fast way, it was straight up. So I grabbed hold of limbs and anything I could grab hold of to get up the hill.
Floyd drove to the nearest home to call for help. Rescue units with the Batesville Fire Department were immediately dispatched.
Ripley County, 69-3.
As soon as Ripley County Sheriff's Deputy Bill Davison got to the scene, he radioed for the extrication unit. The first medic to reach Mary was EMT Dan Sunderman.
Ma'am, can you hear me? She was laying in a pool of blood that had obviously come from the head. Can you tell me how you're feeling? I thought there's no way she's alive. Advise truck 50. I needed every piece of equipment out of the back of that ambulance if I was going to do anything at all with this patient.
EMT James Weigel was among those treating Mary.
She had a very, very weak pulse and a very, very weak blood pressure. She had what we call raccoon eyes, those signs of severe head trauma.
Bag. Okay, I got a backboard.
She was well beyond the golden hour, so we knew we were fighting time and fighting shock. And at this time, I really didn't know whether we could save her or not.
Volunteers with the local Napoleon Fire Department also responded, including firefighter first responder Larry Shaddy.
It's a fear in every EMT's mind. The next wreck could be somebody you know or somebody you love, your mom, your sister, your brother, your son. It's always there.
Gonna need a stove basket?
I looked over and I saw Floyd's car. I said, well, you know, what's he doing here? Then I looked over the hill and I saw Mary's car. I said, oh my God, that's my sister Mary.
Kathy, go ahead and roll air care.
How are we getting her up, Jim?
We're going to go ahead and put her in a Stokes basket, and then we're going to use the winch on the extrication truck, and then we're going to drag her up the hill.
Hey, guys, I kept thinking there's brain damage, or she's got spinal damage, or she's going to be paralyzed the rest of her life.
Blood pressure's every few minutes.
Okay. And then I smack myself around, and I go, no, we can't do that. You know, we're here to help.
Another one of the volunteers who arrived was Jason Engel, who rescue workers knew was the victim's son.
Come on over here.
The scariest moment was realizing that it was my mother down in the embankment.
Is she okay?
We don't know what the statistics are on her yet.
It was hard staying there. It was real hard.
Let's go. Dan, I got her. Okay.
Are we in the basket? Let's get the straps down. Our number one problem was with the blood pressure. It was dropping quick.
Okay.
My assessment was she won't be alive by the time we get her to the top of this hill.
Keep her protected from the branches.
At the point that we found out that there was family there and on the fire team, it just raised the intensity.
Easy. Get these stumps in the way here.
We're letting the wind keep. I got your foot there, Moon, for a second. There must have been 6 or 8 of us. holding onto the Stokes basket as we went up this hill, trying to maneuver it through the trees and get it up this embankment that was very steep and very muddy.
Come on.
The winch, of course, doesn't pull very fast, and everybody just wants to go, go, go.
Get some help down at that tree to help pull.
By this time, more than 3 hours had passed since Mary's accident.
Just as we were getting to the top of the hill, air care was touching down. It was like an angel dropping down right there on the road in front of us.
The worst part was going to the hospital because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know she was still okay.
Mary Engel was flown to the University of Cincinnati Hospital, where she was examined by trauma surgeon Kenneth Davis.
She had a laceration on her forehead. Her pelvis was fractured, and she had what was obviously a broken arm. But the life-threatening part of her injuries was her stomach was in her chest as a result of her diaphragm being ruptured. Okay. Without getting any further tests, we went straight to the operating room. No, give me a Babcock.
Mary underwent 5 hours of surgery to try to repair her ruptured diaphragm, shattered elbow, and fractured pelvis. During the 16 days she was hospitalized, her family was never far from her side.
We went in there, and Mary's arm's hanging up here in the sling, and she goes like this. I said, she waved goodbye. She waved goodbye. So she's going to be all right.
One year later, Mary is still undergoing treatment for some of her injuries.
They have operated on the elbow twice. They've operated on the shoulder twice. My arm won't bend straight out, but I can use my arm. And considering they was going to cut it off, I feel very, very lucky.
Hit it hard. There you go. Way to go. I'm proud of you.
I think my mom was saved for her kind-heartedness.
You're welcome. I was glad to help you out.
She's always happy. She's always in a good mood.
I'll do the dishes.
She's always been there for me.
The dishes.
How many times? They try cleaning your
I just can't think of her not being around.
I'm glad that we were there, and we're glad that you're still here with us, sis.
Thanks, brother.
There's a lot of people that needs to get a lot of thanks for helping me out. But special thanks I need to go to God and Floyd. Because without them too, I just wouldn't be here.
Screwdriver?
You just don't realize how close you are until something like this really happens. She's a determined person. She's strong-willed. She's always there, giving me support.
I know, but it's the truth.
She's a lady that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Feel that good? Good.
Next.
I told my wife, this guy's crazy climbing up the side of this gorge. I'd never seen somebody fall and die.
Quechee Gorge is nestled in the Green Mountains outside White River Junction, Vermont. It's a place where it's easy for people to lose themselves in the tranquil beauty that seems so harmless and safe.
Every year somebody usually dies in the gorge. There's about 163-foot drop on both sides, which is vertical. And one wrong move, and it could end your life.
On June 29, 1992, Damian Halleck and his friend Irv Smith were searching for coins in the Quechee River.
I've got one. It's about a 62.
People have been throwing coins from the bridge for years.
Find anything yet? Yeah, mostly just rocks and mud.
Where we were searching, those coins were getting kind of scarce. So Damien just kind of wandered off. I figured he was just going to look at another place. The walls are made of shale. It seems like it's got a lot of texture to it, but it doesn't hold you up at all. I figured he'd do like the rest of us have, start up the walls, and then just stop and come back down.
Up above on the bridge that spanned the gorge, Lon Ballard and his wife spotted Damien on the side of the cliff.
He can barely get his footing.
I told my wife, this guy's crazy climbing up the side of this gorge.
Look how that...
In fact, as he was climbing, you could see a few rocks starting to drop. I thought he was a novice and probably didn't know what he was doing.
Now he's really up there. He's up there quite a ways. So now I really voiced my opinion. I said, Damien, come down. You're really beginning to make me nervous now. And he said, no problem. I'm just going to go up here a little bit further, see what's here, and I'll come right back down. Seeing him fall was the absolute worst. I honestly thought that there was a major puddle of blood on the other side with him just all broken up.
Call for help!
We thought that he was dead because, you know, it was such a hard hit and he hit head first. I'd never seen somebody fall and die.
Damien! Damien! Damien!
I rolled him over knowing that he might have broke his back or his neck, but I got to clear the airway.
Damien, talk to me if you can.
I knew how to stabilize his neck from the training that I received in the military. However, I felt that he would be paralyzed.
Get something to cover that wound you got on your head, okay? I'll be right back.
There was an awful lot of blood coming mostly from his head.
Someone help us, please! Someone help! I need help down here!
And then his body went into convulsions. He just didn't seem like it could be possible that he would actually live through it.
The call for help sent rescuers with the Hartford Fire Department to the scene from their station 6 miles away.
When I looked into his eyes, it was like he wasn't there. I was afraid that he'd go into shock and we'd never get him back. So I had to keep talking to him. I had to keep him awake. I couldn't lose him.
Within 7 minutes of the call, medic units arrived, including EMT Jeff Libby.
When I heard it was a gorge rescue, the first thing that started running through my mind is you gotta prepare yourself for the worst.
Hey! Is he conscious? Is he having any difficulty?
When I saw him laying there, it did look like it was going to be a fatal fall.
Hey! Is he having problems breathing?
bleeding had slowed down to almost a stop. So I didn't know if it was the hypothermia that was causing it or a lack of blood.
It took 20 minutes to hike down into the gorge. Before the medics could get to the victim, the specially trained high-angle rescue team arrived at the bridge, led by Fire Chief John Wood.
About a 40-foot fall.
Rescues at the gorge are one of the more nerve-wracking type rescues that we perform because of one little slip and one of the rescuers could be severely injured himself.
When the paramedics arrived, I just had a terrible weight lifted off my shoulders.
When I'm looking at this person, he's not moving any of his extremities. The chances are, with a 40-foot fall, that he could be paralyzed.
Hold your neck still.
It's a painful thing to see somebody almost the same age as you that could possibly not walk again.
Come on, talk to me.
At that time, they sent us 6 more rescuers down and a Stokes stretcher.
Come in, lower the stove. Keep lowering.
He was talking very deliriously. He wanted to know if he was going to die, and we have to try to downplay that to try to get him to talk to us, try to get him not to think of those things.
Hold it.
Chief Wood decided it was too risky to attempt to lift Damien up the 160 feet to the bridge. So the firefighters had to carry him back up the trail.
When I saw him carry him out, I had a very strange feeling that I'd probably never see Damien the way I'd used to seeing him. The fear of it all was finally starting to catch up to me.
"22-year-old Damien Halleck was taken to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, where he was diagnosed with a broken neck. His mother, Deidre Miller, was notified of his accident.
I didn't know if he was paralyzed. I didn't even know if he could think. I didn't know anything. And I didn't know what to expect when I got there. The first time I saw Damien, I just wanted to hold him, but I couldn't get near him because he had this halo thing around his head. And so all I could do was hold his hand. And he looked up at me and he said, "Well, Mom, at least I don't have cancer." And then I guess I knew he was going to be okay.
Among the doctors treating Damien was orthopedic surgeon Phil Bernini.
I think Damien's friend Irv really did a remarkably wonderful thing, because not only did he immediately save Damien's life by allowing him to roll out of the water so that he can breathe on his own, but he did it in such a way that he protected the spine from excessive motion, which could have damaged the spinal cord, resulting in either paralysis or death.
One year later, Damien has completely recovered from the injuries he suffered in the fall.
I was in extreme pain. Every bone in my body hurt. I had the fear of not walking again, but I had the hope that everything would be all right.
I'm absolutely amazed that he's doing as well as he is. His attitude has changed a lot. He's a lot more careful on what he does. We went down to the Quechee Gorge on the exact same day that the accident happened a year ago. And he just looked at the wall and he didn't say anything. I'd like to know what he was thinking, but he wouldn't tell me. You know, he just left it at that. And it's great to have him back. It's just great.
If I have any advice to give to people, think about all the things that you've done in your life, everything that you've enjoyed doing, Imagine now that you can't do any of those. Imagine that you can't do any of those. You are now on a bed. You're now in a wheelchair. You are now relying on other people to do things for you. You'll realize real quickly how stupid I had been.
If I had one thing to say to the rescue people, it would be, thank you. It seems so insignificant just to say thank you. They saved my son's life.
Many areas around the country cannot afford full-time rescue personnel and must rely on trained volunteers to respond to emergencies. Find out how you can get involved and make a difference in your community. This series is dedicated to all the men, women, and children who answer our calls for help and are there when we need them most. I'm William Shatner. Join us again next week for more true stories on Rescue 911.